the question of the world is not do we have enough wealth. We have more wealth in the world than we have ever seen. The question is how we're going to share it.
Bob was tough, articulate, principled. He commanded the audience. He was the strongest presence in the room, deeply respected. Bob was the best labor leader in the history of this country.
Il avait beaucoup de charisme, mais il n'était pas égoïste. Il travaillait pour les syndicalistes, pour les travailleurs et travailleuses. Il ne travaillait pas pour lui-même. Et il avait beaucoup de courage, même héroïsme.
He made you feel that you were part of this movement, you're valued, and more importantly, you can do anything you want if you're given the opportunity to do so.
D'ailleurs, la minute que j'ai commencé à travailler avec lui, je me suis aperçu que j'avais raison, que c'était une personne qui respecte son personnel, qui respecte les autres, mais qui a des convictions. Des convictions de faire des choses, d'avancer, très intelligent. Alors, pour moi, c'était fantastique de travailler avec un type comme ça.
In every democratic society, there is a time when governments who have turned their backs on the people have to take over, and today we are planting the seeds for a major takeover in this country to put another agenda in place.
Bob's most outstanding quality was inspiring pride in all of us. For working people across the country, they looked at Bob White, they heard him speak passionately and articulately on their behalf, and it made them feel proud to be working people. And for activists, you walked into a room with Bob White and he made you feel so good about what we were doing as a labor movement.
Bob's vision was for a large private sector union in the country that would have collective bargaining power, but would have power with government, would have a strong voice that had to be reckoned with, had to be listened to.
I mean, we were all internationalists, and people said, how could you leave an international union if you're an internationalist? We're still internationalists in our union. Bob White was an internationalist till the day he died. When they rejected the autonomy within, Bob White said, well, we have to take the next step, and that is to set up a Canadian union. We're going to look at moving out.
And then we said, we're not going home, we're going to sit around and talk about it. Buzz and Nick and Wendy Cuthbert was our communication person at that time. We had a suite in the hotel, we went up the next morning, we got a flip chart out, we said, what's this union going to look like? We started talking, the first important thing is what kind of an executive board are we going to have? And we said we've got to have an executive board that's got some rank and file input. And we agreed then that the CAW Council Executive was going to be members of the executive board. We wanted to have rank and file input at the top level of our union. And I want to say that was a very key decision we made. We didn't realize it at the time, but it is.
There's nobody around the union in those days that could have made it. Bob White was the only one.
And it was because he had the membership behind him, he had the staff behind him, he brought the local union leadership behind him in his own magical way that he managed to accomplish that.
Il y a une grosse différence entre travailler leader au Congrès du travail du Canada puis leader dans ton syndicat. Parce que là, il faut que tu amènes les dirigeants des autres syndicats ensemble pour pouvoir avancer. Et ça, Bob White avait cette qualité-là d'être capable de rallier les gens autour d'une table et puis de prendre des bonnes décisions. Oui.
We can show the government that the labor movement in this country has the security and has the guts to stand up and be counted on the issue of affirmative action.
Bob was a leader who was prepared to look at the way the labor movement did things and preserve the best, but also question why we couldn't do better or differently.
6 months after I was elected national president of CUPE and Bob had just been elected CLC president, there was a province-wide illegal CUPE strike in New Brunswick. And a lot of the members said, let's bring Bob White in. And Bob said to me, I'll do anything that you want, Jude, but you know what? You and your team have led this. You and your team have the strategy to win this, and your members support you. And if I come in, they're going to say Bob White did this. But it was you and your team that did that. And I want to support you, and I want your members to know that. Bob White supported, he encouraged, he loved strong women, and he did everything he could to support us every single day that he was president of the CLC.
I think Marilyn, his wife, was very instrumental. You could not be married to Marilyn White and not be supportive of women's rights, however you started out in life.
He also raised consciousness, raised awareness. His work with Maud Barlow during the free trade debate, opened up a lot of Canadians' eyes.
We had this incredible two-night debate just before the 1988 election. It was all and only about free trade, and not just the debate, but the election. And Bob and I went on with Peter Lougheed, who was then Premier of Alberta, and Tom DeKino, who was then head of the Business Council on National Issues.
Speaking against the free trade agreement, Maud Barlow and Bob White.
I've seen corporate America up close. I've seen their value systems. I've had to lead fights to stop them from bringing those value systems to apply to Canadian workers. And I don't want those value systems to become the yardstick of the relationship between our two countries.
We creamed them.
What he was trying to achieve was not attention for the labor movement, but was change for the majority of workers.
We represent these people, and we're going to get into this plant one way or the other, just so you know. And we're going to see that some obligations are fulfilled, and hopefully we can do it legally. But we're going to go in and talk to the workers.
You're not doing it legally now.
My friend, this is just as legal as you taking jobs out of this country. Just as legal. Doug, we're coming through. Caterpillar was an example, a pure, raw example of how the absolute free market system left to its own devices destroys people.
He understood completely that you want to rise with your class and not from your class.
He played an incredible role on the international stage, recognizing that workers need to come together. Bella Gallows was a young woman. She went in Canada to build solidarity for East Timor. And Bob made her feel like she was part of her family, held her hand up at convention and tell the delegates, you need to be here. The international labor movement is stronger today because of what Bob were able to do.
Je crois qu'il a compris ça, que le syndicat est plus fort avec l'inclusion de tous les membres. Et il a compris ça dans notre syndicat, au Canada et partout dans le monde. C'est pourquoi il a mis priorité sur la question de la lutte contre l'apartheid en Afrique du Sud.
If the people of South Africa are willing to die for the cause, the least we can do is help them financially and morally in speaking out against the injustice, and we will continue to do that.
When he became president of the Canadian Labour Congress, one of the first international trips he wanted to make was to South Africa. It's hard to explain the type of meeting that those two men had. They recognized each other as soulmates, and as a result of that, there was a mutual respect, a mutually respectful discussion that took place. It was an amazing moment in history. We met with local union leadership. He understood those and cared about them, and liked nothing better than to have a beer and to talk to those leaders about those kind of issues.
His greatest accomplishment is the diversity of the organization and the commitment to building a stronger union, but a stronger country.
If the history of Canada in the 20th century is recorded accurately, it will show the enormous contribution working people and the labor movement have made. They made it by toiling in the fields and the factories, building our railways, our transportation, our communication system, and providing the goods and services necessary to make this country one of the industrial G7 nations of the world. Secondly, history must also show the incredible contribution the labor movement has made to the development of a civil society. In the building of economic and social justice, not just for union members, not just for workers, but for a large cross-section of our society.
He understood that his role wasn't just about the day, it was about tomorrow. And that's what made him so unique.
He was a formidable voice on behalf of working people in this country and truly was recognized.
Le mot respect est toujours celui qui me vient en idée. Respect des autres, respect de ses membres, respect de...
If Bob White came through the door right now, I would say thank you for always being an inspiration. Thank you for making sure that I challenge myself to do better.
Bob was democratically, altruistically charismatic.